Viewers, here we are at the top of Saluda Grade. Looks okay, doesn't it? No. The trees are a bit wrong. I've visited this time of the world at this time of year in autumn, and let's just say no. Alright, let's try and get this thing moving. Now you can't use Raildriver because it's totally incompatible with the scripting and bad things happen. Now let's just get us up to about notch 5. I'll let that ramp up a bit in revs. It won't pick up any amps until I drop the brakes. Alright, brakes off. Should get the amps starting to pick up now, hopefully before we roll away. Let's take another notch. We've got some amps, let's take another one. And another one. Now this doesn't bode well that the power on this train isn't enough to get us up a 1.5% gradient because we're going down a 4.7. So maintain power until we tip over the summit, then apply the dynamic braking to 100%. We need to make a brake reduction to 75 to 80 pounds initially, and then another one 68 to 70. Use dynamic brake adjustments to maintain 8 miles an hour as we descend. Now the 8's quite critical because between the two timing points, if you exceed 8 miles an hour, you get shunted off into a runoff track. And yes, I'm wearing a Train Sim World t-shirt. This is not Train Sim World. This is Train Simulator Classic. And we're running the new Saluda Grade route. Start knocking the power off a bit, because we don't want too much on when we go over the top of this. So we've got to balance getting the load up the hill with getting us down the hill in one piece. Now normally you'd stop a little bit further down the hill from here and set the retainers on your cars, but retainers aren't simulated on this thing, and there's no point putting on handbrakes when your train is active because the game just ignores them. So it'd be nice to be able to do that. Retainers basically, when the driver applies the air brake, they will retain an amount of that braking through a latch or springs after the air brakes have been released, and that leaves the driver free to apply and release the air brakes as they need to as they descend down the hill, while still maintaining a degree of braking on the train. Enough of this has tipped over the top now. I think we'll keep. Maybe not. Let's see how we go. Slow down anyway. The second set of locos is about to crest the top. Picking up speed again. Let's bring our level back. We've reached critical mass now. Yeah, we have started speeding up even without the throttle. So let's put some dynamic on. And it did say to go straight to dynamic 100%, so we're going to do that. Listen to those dynamic brakes not scream. The dynamics have actually got it at the moment, so let's just leave it sit. Pump him up a little early. No, it's picking up speed again. Wait till it gets to about 6 mile an hour, and I'll do the first brake application. So what we're going to do is bring our brake pipe down from 90 to 80. We'll wait a little while for that so that we don't just stop. Now's probably a good point, I think. Pretty light. Give it a bit more. Not good braking script, but it's holding it just over 80. But I want more often than that. I want to bring it right down to about 70. Hold it there. Get it back to the lap position, not release. It's supposed to have a lap position. It does not have a lap position. The locomotives are cresting the hill, so that might push us along a little bit, but at the moment we're approaching stopping. It's not even any air brake applied according to the red needle. Maybe that's only on the locomotive. Certainly air brakes applied somewhere because we're stopping. Let them off. It's a bummer because they'll take ages to recharge down the train. About 4 seconds per car. It's a lot of cars. But don't do this, we're just going to stop. Let's make an initial service. See what that does. That's made about a 15-pound application, and we're picking up speed a lot. Let's do another one. That puts us into full service, apparently, according to the brake script. And pretty much running away. It's having some effect now. Remember, we're not supposed to go above 8. And the timing point actually starts at that signal back there, despite what the sign says. We're picking up again. Now, in theory, I'm at full service, so there's no more to give it. But apparently we can give it a bit more. Now, it said 68 to 70. This is just dropping off now. Again's having an effect. Dynamics are still on, which is good. So Saluda locomotives had a special key, and they had a trained operator that was able to operate the train with both dynamics functional and the air brakes at the same time, which normally in a locomotive you can't do that. And the reason why not is the wheels lock up and they slide if the operator doesn't know what they're doing. Now slowly coming down in speed, so we'll let that sit. Let's see if it can get us back down to 8 mile an hour. I'd be surprised, but it's already too late because we're already going too fast in the timing zone. And at this point, if you're operating this thing on this gradient at 20 mile an hour, well, let's just say this would look like a pretty good option at this point, because at least at 20 mile an hour, you'd probably survive. We are coming down slowly. A lot of the route's quite nicely done scenery-wise if you ignore the English trees everywhere. But there are big bare patches, like you can see up there, it's just totally bare. And it wouldn't have taken long to put some grass up there, really. So, I don't know if it's not drawn at all, or if it's just the wrong LOD. The locomotives look quite nice, but they really haven't had any improvements since previous versions. And they were never amazing. So the gradient we're on right now, 4.4, we get as much as 4.7. Holding it, coming down to 13. So it's built by High Iron Simulations. I've reviewed a bit of their stuff before. They're a bit hit and miss. Some of their stuff's quite good. Even in the same pack, sometimes some of the locomotives are really good and some of them, well, aren't. We'll see how we go. And as usual, I did get this for free. Well, I shouldn't say as usual, because I do actually buy a lot of this stuff myself, but this one I got for free from Dovetail. Oh, it's rendering the couplers this time. That's good. Last practice run I did, it didn't render the couplers between the locomotives, which was a bit boring. Somewhere down here around this signal, the game will declare that we've reached the timing point. Oh, this is an excessive amount of wheel squeal. Quite excruciating, actually. Of wheel squeal was somewhat unnecessary. It's not a particularly tight curve. So this sign says ending the timing section. Well, it's not actually right, but anyway. Sure you can guess what I was looking at. Ooh, we're in the red on the dynamics. Looking at this gauge. Oh, you can't see my cursor, can you? Looking at this gauge here. So you're not meant to run these things in the red. It's bad for them. Makes smoke. the bottom of the grade down there, so we're almost down. Let's head down there and watch the train come, shall we? We can do a gratuitous bridge shot, as I am wont to do. Well, there's some water. Can't see much movement. Let's come around here. Comes our train. Let him keep crawling down the hill. Because just there is the runoff siding. So if the system decides you're going too fast, it's not actually simulated. Kind of cool if it was, to be honest. But it's not actually simulated, but you would go off here. Now, interestingly, there's this short little stub track. And if you've looked at this area, let's just say it's not a short little stub track and a pile of gravel. Because that's not going to stop your train, and that's just going to make a huge mess back there on the bridge. The stub track goes into a gravel bed that goes up the hill, so that if you get stuck, it's not going to kill you. Whereas this arrangement is probably going to kill you. But as I said, fortunately for us, it's not simulated, so it's all good. Of course I do. So we're doing 9 mile an hour now. We'd be heading for the track. And be heading for the gravel pit. That's okay. So we had to go into suppression then, which wouldn't be right. You should be able to drop out some pounds and drop out some more, and go into lap, and so on. We're down, and we're not upside down, so that's a good sign, I suppose. Lead locos are off the grade. Probably about a third of our load is now as well. So we can probably actually release the air brakes now. Because it'll take a little while to charge the train anyway. Well, that might have been premature. As you can tell, we're speeding up rather a lot. Emergency. That's embarrassing. I can get back into suppression, so all good. This is having an effect again. Definitely shouldn't have released them when I did. What I probably should have done is reduced the dynamic braking. But that's okay. So it wants to readjust our air brake reduction to 82 to 85. So that's a minimal application. Pump up the system a little. It'll be a little while. Going to stop anyway though. Amongst the delightful English trees. Let's come out here while we wait. It will move again. Gravity will win. Always does. In fact, we are moving again. So I think we're not even finished pumping up yet, so let's just go back up to 8 on the dynamics, I think would be a good idea. before we completely run away. We have to wait for the white needle to reach 90 before we can apply, but even then it would still be a few minutes before the back of the train was actually pumped up enough. Otherwise, you could set up a really nasty gradient of air in your train, and that will just end in tears. Have the headlight on. What's the bell sound like? Sounds like a mechanical bell at least. Let's go back in here. We are pumped up, so let's just do our initial reduction. As it is. Can that hold it? Probably should, as it comes off the steeper part of the gradient. Although I have noticed the dynamics on these locomotives are rather, well, soft like a sponge. The dynamics are actually making noise now. They weren't before. That's kind of cute. There we go, we're having our impact. So by the time the back of the train actually gets to the 20 mile sign, we'll still be under 20 mile an hour and it'll be fine, and I'll be able to bring the dynamics down a little. But anyway, it seems that you actually can get down the grade. I can guarantee you can't if you use a rail driver because of the scripting conflicts between what the rail driver wants to do and what the engine script wants to do, because this does appear to have some special scripting because it seems to automatically bail off the engine brake, which is why the red needle is at 0 and stays at 0 to maintain the dynamics. Now, interestingly, on the real Saluda trains, if you watch the Saluda training video, you'll discover that they did not actually behave that way. The locomotive brakes were on. They just were on hard. Let's come down another one. Looks like it's going to probably stabilise. So somewhere around this corner, it's an opportune place for a pole of course, but somewhere around this corner there will actually be a train, and it'll slide past us and we'll make that the end of the video. So there you go. You can't follow the scenario's instructions because the train won't do what it's told. Those headlights went through the pole. That's funny. I've never noticed that happen before. But anyway, I reckon I'll make a short out of that. You can't follow the instructions of the scenario. You can't get down at 8 mile an hour. I've tried several times to make this work. You just can't. And if anybody manages it, fantastic. Tell me how, because I think it's impossible. But you can get down the hill the right way up. I think I'll go make a scenario to see how many challenges it takes to get up the hill. But anyway, all good. Have fun. And see you later. I'll be streaming this next Sunday. If you're watching this, what date is it today? It is the 3rd of the 9th. So if you're watching this before next Sunday, which will be the 10th of the 9th, then you'll see me stream this route. There you go. A prelude, if you like. Perhaps a spoiler. Look, it's speeding up again. Off it goes. See you later, train, and bye to you as well. Bye.